we go. This one, I just want a quick yes or no. And I know you're both going to want to go into it,
No.
but how many of your coaches told you or told any of your teammates or any guy who was Traquan Smith, any other guy, even the guys who went pro, oh, I think you can go manage a business somewhere else. You could be a CEO somewhere else. How many of your coaches ever told you that in college?
That's not a yes or no question, but
Sorry, I
no,
I phrased it a different way.
um, I don't think any football coach, I don't think any football coach said those things to me or any kind of similar sentiment to me. Like you're going to be the CEO of your own business, or you're going to be the co-founder, you're going to run this. I have had a strength coach tell me that I would be a really good, I'm a really good missionary, and that I could be a preacher one day. I have been told that.
um, I have had one coach tell me I can do something in the field I want to be. Shout out Coach Hill. God, I love Coach Hill. He definitely told me that because I told him I just want to help people. I can't make money from that. He said, "You definitely can. You can make it work. Knowing you, you can make anything happen." Well, I guess I can. I have had one coach tell me, but it was the culture of that team, so I'm not surprised that I can say that with that team.
But to your point, that's how many coaching staffs, how many coaches over 5 years, and he had one position play coach, and I had one strength coach. Like I would
That's
say,
my point.
yeah. So it's definitely a cultural thing, and I think I don't necessarily want to blame the coaches either because they don't know what they don't know either. They may know better, they may not, just like the players. A lot of these coaches were players that didn't know. And the only reason they're coaching is because they don't know how to leave the game. Nothing wrong with that, but that's what they're doing. I'm saying nothing wrong with being a coach, but a lot of times people become coaches because they can't let go of what they used to do. And they never get out of that mindset. There's 50-year-old coaches that still act like the players.
But that's where I think the change should start at, and to kind of bring everything together. The change needs to start with these coaches. Who do these players listen to? At the end of the day, it's the coach. If the coach makes everything seem like football, you're gonna have these players come in, get the good enough grades to be able to play, go do what their coach tells them in practice on the field, go home, do whatever they want, and it just goes. If you have coaches that support these players, that don't give off the vibes that, you're only I only want you here because of what you can do on the field, then, it's just something. And like I said, I want to get back into coaching when I did in Optimist. I was 18. I personally, I can say I didn't know better. I still don't know better. I'm still young. I'm still growing. And one of the things that I learned was, your priority number one are these kids. You can win games, you lose games. It happens. But we want to see these guys develop from where they are now into grown men who can come and contribute something to society and fend for themselves. When I was coaching, the area I was in wasn't the best area. The coach told me some of these kids have had issues, but he was someone that they went to, and he always made sure that they were okay, that they weren't on the streets. And it was just something that I took away. And I said, I'd love to be a coach and, make sure these kids are doing good in school because they need to, something that'll help them. And something that I personally want to start doing more. And what I want to do when I start coaching is getting these kids to do some community service on the side. Give back to the communities that have helped you grow, helped you get to this point. It's just being a different opinion in a business that's very concrete and doesn't have great flexibility. Once you can't do what I need you to do, I'm going to bring in the next guy. It's not the right thinking. It is what it is.
Right.
But
And to your point, Paul, I want to play devil's advocate. So for coaches, you're only good as the environment you surround yourself by. And when you, from high school to college, coaching wise, it's a completely different world. I can say that me and Tristan have seen coaches live in the football room area, whatever you want to call it, the facility for hours on hours on hours. They don't go home. So how are you supposed to teach me about development as a person if you haven't seen your family in 3 days straight? We came home from a flight, and from that flight, you went right back to the office to watch film on the next week's team, and you're game planning, you're doing all this stuff. It's high school to college to pros, especially high school. If you lose your job, you go back home. You don't got to get uprooted to a new family. College, you lose your job, you're in trouble. Then there's a chance you're getting uprooted to a different state, different division. Who knows where you're going? Job security is not a thing in college and professional. So to the yes, that's changed to the coach's point of view. I have to feed my family too. And if you can't do your job, someone else has to do it. Because if you don't and he doesn't, then I don't have a job. I can't support my family. Like I said, it's a vicious, vicious cycle. And I know some coaches mean well, but at the same time, if the guys don't perform and we don't win games, I don't have a job. I can't support my family. I'm messed up too. So it's that balance of look out for myself, look out for the player. It's real tough. The higher level it goes, the more of a business it is. And if you go to the professional, the owner can get rid of you like that just because he doesn't like you. It's the owner makes way more than you. The players make more than you. So what are you supposed to say to a player that makes more than you? He's not going to listen to you anyway. So the higher level it gets with coaching, it becomes tougher and tougher and tougher to connect with the student athletes. But that's when other roles supposed to kick in, like people of player development. That's when they kick in. That's their job. The coaches are supposed to coach. That's their job. Or you hire people for player and personal development to do their job. And a lot of them are just lacking. They turn to coaches just basically just there to hang out and enjoy the ride, which bothers me to the T.
So then it has to start at the lowest level possible. That's the answer. And then, like you said, you have to bring people in who have to help these student athletes. And I've heard you guys tell me that most of these schools have centers that help student athletes get internships, get this and that. Maybe it's not the coach, but it is good to see a person that you respect, that you hopefully respect. If you don't respect the coach, then there's absolutely nothing and no one that can mend that. When you have someone you respect telling you, like, listen, I know that this is important to you, but don't forget about the other things. Once you're in the pros, it's a different story because then it's a dogfight for real. At least when you're in college, you can still fall back on your academics. You still aren't thrusted into the real world where you have to go and just fend for yourself. It's a start, but you still have that small leeway that, and you can always transfer. When you go to the pros, if you're not a guy named Stephon Diggs, you can't just tweet out, trade me, and it'll happen. But then the idea has to start at the lowest level. And these high school coaches, the ones that I've been around for the most part, have given me the biggest, if you can't help me, I don't want you here vibes.
Yeah, it's tough. Especially, I would say it depends on what state you're in as well. States like Florida, Texas, Cali, Georgia now, football is all they live, breathe, eat football. So if you don't win, that's all they care about. That's reputation. So it also depends on where you're from, how you were raised. It's like we keep saying over and over, it's a common theme. It's a vicious cycle. And we just keep feeding the beast, feeding the beast, feeding the beast. And at the end of the day, they're making money off of us and they can care less how we feel, if we develop or not. They just want to make sure their pockets are happy. So it's going to take time. Like Rome wasn't built in a day, but we have to do some progress towards changing how things are going. So our student athletes stop falling in the same traps and stop getting lost in the world and stop at dead end jobs and stop having kids at a young age, stop struggling at the age of 20 to 80. Like those are some long, long years. You're in college, 21, but then if you mess up, you turn 30, you turn 40, you turn 50, you turn 60, you turn 70. That's 50 years. That's 5 decades of struggle. No one wants that life, and it could have been avoided if we taught them the right lessons. And that's what we got to do better as a whole, everyone.